discuss Resolution 2334, which explicitly condemns settlement activities and calls on Israel to respect its obligations under international law. Yet the government of Israel continues to implement policies which contravene this resolution and contribute to rising instability in the West Bank. This risks undermining the implementation of the 20-point plan for Gaza and the prospects for a two-state solution, as well as long-term peace and security across the region. We strongly condemn the unprecedented rise in settler violence against Palestinian civilians of all faiths and denominations in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, with 2025 the most violent year on record. According to UN OCHA, there were over 260 attacks on Palestinians and their property in October alone. This is deeply alarming. These attacks terrorize civilians, obstruct peace efforts, and threaten the security of Israel itself. We call on the government of Israel to abide by its obligations under international law and protect the Palestinian population of the occupied territories. We reiterate our call for the preservation of and respect for the status quo of Jerusalem's holy sites. We take note of recent condemnations of settler violence by President Herzog and Prime Minister Netanyahu. This must be translated into concrete action that addresses the root causes of this violence, restores stability, and holds those responsible to account. We reiterate our firm opposition to any form of annexation and to the government of Israel's settlement policies that violate international law. The allocation of 2.7 billion shekels of funding for settlements, evictions of Palestinian families from Silwan in East Jerusalem, plans to initiate land registration in the Area C of the West Bank, approval of the E1 settlement, and thousands of new housing units all risk destabilization and undermine the viability of a two-state solution. UNRWA must also be able to continue its vital work, and we welcome the renewal of its mandate and UNRWA's commitment and ongoing efforts to implement the recommendations of the Colonna report.
On that, it is important
we are shocked by Israeli authorities entering UNRWA's compound in East Jerusalem on 8 December without prior authorization. UN premises are inviolable under international law. Such actions undermine respect for international norms and the ability of UN agencies to deliver essential services to Palestinians. We welcome the ICG advisory opinion of October 2025 and call on Israel to act fully in line with its obligations under international law. Finally, the economic situation in the West Bank remains precarious. The continued withholding of Palestinian tax revenues, threats to withdraw correspondent banking relationships, and limits on shekel transfers are wholly unjustifiable. These measures risk financial collapse in the West Bank and a fiscal crisis for the Palestinian Authority, weakening its ability to deliver services, reform, and assume responsibilities in Gaza as envisaged in Security Council Resolution 2803. The government of Israel must urgently release withheld revenues, remove or significantly increase shekel transfer limits, and confirm a longer-term extension for correspondent banking relationships to avert economic collapse and uphold prospects for peace and stability. We're deeply concerned by the movement restrictions, forced displacement, and the conduct of operations by Israeli security forces in the West Bank, aggravating the humanitarian situation, and call for their immediate end. In closing, we now stand at a historic crossroads with a chance to secure a better future and deliver long-term peace for Israelis, Palestinians, and the region. We remain fully committed to this vision and reaffirm our commitment to achieving a just and comprehensive resolution of the Israel-Palestinian conflict based on a two-state solution. Thank you.
Pastor, a question on the terror.
All right, so some comments there from the UN Security Council as they were speaking on Gaza, one of those live events that we are getting in here. But I also wanted to share with you, we are getting several live looks coming in right now. We are hearing from lawmakers right now at another stakeout camera we have there, House lawmakers. Let's turn up the sound here and listen in.
they've made clear they intend to hammer Republicans on the health care issue.
There are creative things that you can do. For example, my plan, while the insurance changes wouldn't happen until people re-up and begin their insurance in 2027. But in my plan, for example, we allow for people to immediately start being able to use their supercharged HSA account to purchase affordable, healthy food. So go to the grocery store, buy your steak with pre-tax dollars, right? Buy your lettuce, your things that are healthy food that's truly Maha. Embrace this because at the end of the day, Americans, healthcare is not just about if you're insured. It's are you healthy? And if we can encourage people to eat healthy, encourage them to get a gym membership, which is what Leader Thune's idea is, then I think that will have an immediate impact on people's monthly paycheck and something that would happen this year.
Thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And once again, this is just one of our stakeout cameras that we have been bringing you here on Live Now from Fox, as we have been hearing from lawmakers as they are taking questions ahead of the GOP briefing that is set to start here in just a short amount of time. And now we do have that live look here that has just come in for you. That's slated for 10 a.m. Eastern time. So in just about 2 minutes here, we will be hearing from House Speaker Mike Johnson, as well as other GOP leaders. We'll bring that to you if we do get it. Once again, here is this other live look that we do have, this other stakeout camera ahead of these briefings from Secretary Rubio as well as Secretary Hegseth, as they're going to be speaking on the boat strikes that we have been seeing from the Trump administration. We did hear just moments ago from Senator Blumenthal, but since then we have not seen anyone else walk up to that podium. So what we're going to do here is just monitor everything going on today on Capitol Hill, and we will bring you all of these live events once they do get underway here. In the meantime, we do have another live event that is going on right now, and this is out of West Palm Beach, Florida, as we're listening into this press conference on opioids. Let's listen in.
Obviously, we have to do something about that. So with the partnership with FDLE, DEA and FDLE was a huge partner in this, providing us with roughly $140,000 in overtime expenses and about $90,000 for undercover buys, which really helped this case as far as getting these drug dealers. And you can see them.
All right, and right as we went to that, we do see a Senator Chuck Schumer as he is coming down the escalator right now, potentially heading to that podium at that media stakeout ahead of these Senate briefings. Let's head back over there.
Thank you.
All right, and no comments there from Senator Schumer, as this is set to start here in just a short amount of time. What I wanted to do here, though, is just hang on this for just another moment to see if we're going to see anybody else coming down there, making their way to this briefing, as we have been hearing all morning from several lawmakers here. And if you are just tuning in, we are expecting this Senate briefing to be taking place in just a matter of moments here with Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio speaking on those boat strikes. So once again, we are going to hear from those two, but other top national security officials also expected to provide closed-door briefings for lawmakers in the House as well as the Senate. And so that's why we do have these two stakeout cameras that we have been sharing with you here on Live Now from Fox. And I'll just pull up this other one here for you, as we've been hearing from House members as well this morning and bringing them to you as we do see them. But this is all set to start here. Once again, this is going to be closed door, though. So we are going to keep these cameras up here to see if we can get some additional comments potentially afterward on the back half of this, as this does get underway. Also, we are keeping an eye here, as we are going to be hearing soon from House GOP officials, as well as I just said moments ago, House Speaker Mike Johnson going to be speaking here. And all of this coming as it is a very busy day there on Capitol Hill. I did just want to stay on this shot for just a moment here to see if this is going to get underway, because sometimes we'll dip away from this shot and then we will see several lawmakers walk out there on the stage and just get underway. So I am going to leave this up here for just a matter of moments here to see if we are going to see this get underway. All right, and so what I did want to do here is we've been sharing this live stakeout camera here with you. We don't see anyone up there right now giving remarks. However, we did, it looks like we are getting, let's turn up the sound here. Yep, Steve Scalise, let's turn up the sound here.
I think after everybody talked, they decided they didn't want to go forward, with the options that were out there. So, in the end, we have a bill that lowers premiums for 100% of Americans. Democrats are only focused on bailing out insurance companies for less than 10% of Americans.
Will there be any floor vote on an ACA bill this week?
I'm not aware of any.
Also, very quick comments there from House Minority Whip Steve Scalise as he was just speaking to the media there as well. Again, these have been very brief comments here as we've just been dipping in and out of these cameras. House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, as we have been dipping out of these comments here throughout the morning on Live Now from Fox. Once again, we have several things set to get underway here in just a matter of moments there on Capitol Hill. I don't want to dip away from any of this because as we've been seeing here, this is a very fluid situation of people stepping up to the camera to speak as well. And once again, anticipating this House GOP leadership presser to get underway in just a matter of moments here on Live Now from Fox as well. Just moments ago, we did see Senator Schumer as he was just walking down these steps as well as we are starting to see several people walking in there. Senator Josh Hawley there as he is now walking into these briefings that are set to start here, given by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth as well as Secretary of State Marco Rubio as they're going to be speaking on the attacks we have seen on these drug boats. These boat strikes that we have been seeing, these alleged boat strikes. So what we're going to do here is step away for a break on Live Now from Fox. We will continue to monitor all of this here for you as I am looking at all of the feeds that we are getting in. It does not appear that we see any more lawmakers or GOP leadership remarks starting at this time. So we are going to step away for that commercial break. Yes, we just saw Senator Bernie Sanders walk by there. Nobody stepping up to this podium to deliver remarks. We've only gotten Senator Blumenthal. So what we're going to do is take that commercial break on Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back.
Your pride and joy is measured in acres. Keep them looking their best with the Kubota lineup. Versatile sidekick utility vehicles. The #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. Professional grade mowers for a professional cut. It's equipment built with one purpose, to get the job done right.
When a guy goes fishing, it's not enough to catch fish. You have to catch the biggest fish, you have to catch it right away, and most importantly, you have to do it around people who aren't catching anything. Bow your heads for the man's prayer. I'm a man, but I can change if I have to. I guess. But remember, if women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
$1 million! Open the cage!
These are big, pressing decisions. Deal or no deal.
Your destination for gripping true crime. From cold cases to notorious murder investigations,
we knew right away that something was amiss, something was wrong.
We uncovered the secrets and exposed the darkest criminal minds.
The FBI drew up a profile of the depraved murderer for the police.
This is raw justice. This is a relentless search for the truth. This is real crime. Watch now on Roku.
And welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Before the break, you saw us trying to navigate several different live feeds we had coming in here on Capitol Hill, and we are still awaiting this press conference from House GOP leadership to get underway. Also, we are watching here this stakeout camera still ahead of these Senate briefings with Secretary Hegseth as well as Secretary Rubio. We still have not seen anyone else step up to the podium there. So what I wanted to do here was just share with you this press conference that just wrapped up here out of West Palm Beach on opioids. We tried to bring it to you. We had to dip out of it because we did see Senator Schumer walking up there to enter the briefing. So what I did want to do is just share it with you now on Live Now from Fox.
You're going to talk, right? Sure. Do you want to say anything? Okay. Okay, folks, here's how this is going to go. I'm going to open this up. Then I'm going to turn it over to Colonel Masry, who's going to walk you through this. And then I'm going to make a couple comments at the end. And we'll let you ask some questions, all right? We're not going to talk about anything other than this case, so don't think you're going to ask me some questions about another subject, because that ain't going to happen. We're not going to take a lot of questions, so make them count. Don't get into what ifs. Just ask pertinent questions about what we're dealing with, okay? Everybody got it? Everybody good to go? All right. All right, good morning. We're here to talk about a really outstanding operation. You know, I've been the sheriff here for 20 years. I've never seen one this big. Usually you see maybe 15, 20. When you're in the hundreds, that's a bunch, and we still got some more to go. So I'm going to let Colonel Masry walk you through this operation, and then we'll hear from the state attorney, who's one of our partners in this, and then we'll take some questions. Colonel?
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning. My name is Talal Masry, T-A-L-A-L, last name M-A-S-R-I. I'm a colonel of Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Like the Sheriff mentioned, we're talking about Operation Unplugged. And I'll start with telling you why we decided to call it Unplugged, because if you're a drug dealer, you're plugged. So we unplugged them. That's what we did with this operation. As a result, 101 arrests as of today. We have 25 pending arrests. Hopefully we'll get them soon. And some of these arrests, including firearm charges as well as drug possession, sales, intent to distribute, all these drug charges related. So to walk you what happened with this we've had the problem. It's everybody had it, fentanyl in the country, killing people left and right, several overdoses. Just to let you know, within the last 5 years, we had 5,121 overdoses, including 1,026 deaths resulted from those overdoses. Obviously, we had to do something about that. So with the partnership with FDLE, DEA and FDLE was a huge partner in this, providing us with roughly $140,000 in overtime expenses and about $90,000 for undercover buys, which really helped this case as far as getting these drug dealers. And you can see them, they're all over the boards. So we started this operation about a year ago. Took a lot of work, a lot of investigations, a lot of undercover buys, a lot of agents participated. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, who had some assistance from West Palm, DEA, the City of Lake Worth Beach, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office street team, the gang unit. It was hands-on with everybody. Again, as I mentioned, throughout the whole year.
All right, so we were just listening in there to this press conference. We'll try to bring you that later, but we do see GOP leaders, as they are now, giving their weekly update.
Hanukkah drives out the horrific hate that we've seen. Now, turning to the topic this week, which is one of the topics, which is healthcare. Let me begin by being very clear and very honest about the state of healthcare today. The Democrats' healthcare program has failed. And I want to remind everybody, what's the name of the healthcare program? Obamacare. This was a Democrat program, and I'm finally excited to see that the Democrats now have got on board with us, that the affordable health care is anything but affordable. So, again, Republicans stand united to fix the problem again. But let's not forget where the root of the problem started. Democrats broke it, we will fix it. And happily to do that. Most Americans can't afford Democrats' insurance plan. The plans are riddled with waste, with fraud, with abuse, and if we're being honest, they only work for one group: big insurance companies. Democrats' health care plan doesn't work. It's never worked. So Republicans are pursuing options that do things a little bit differently. First, we're working to fundamentally lower costs through reforms like cost-sharing reductions. You'll see a common theme: lowering costs versus subsidies. We want to lower premiums for all Americans. Second, we're proposing options that actually expand access to all Americans. When Democrats passed their disastrous health care law in 2010, they promised that if you like your plan, you can keep it. They promised choice. They promised you low costs. Not a single one of those promises were true. Not one. In fact, healthcare premiums have risen over 60% since the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And I ask you this, profitability from the insurance companies are 600% greater since Obamacare. Has your income increased 600%? Ask yourself that. I know mine hasn't. Here's the difference. Republicans are fighting for a solution. Democrats actually want this issue. They want health care to be an issue. Republicans actually want solutions for Americans to bring down premiums, not subsidies. That's why Democrats are refusing to rally around real reforms. Instead, they're embracing the very broken system of which they created. But this has been true all year. Democrats have pushed political issues while Republicans have actually delivered solutions. No one's talking about the border today, right? Why is that? It's because we fixed it. The border's closed. People are safe, but you don't hear anyone talking about that because Republicans fixed it. Republicans delivered bigger paychecks by eliminating taxes on tips, taxes on overtime, taxes on Social Security. Republicans delivered lower gas prices by cutting regulation and expanding permitting reform. Time and time again, Republicans delivered results for the American people, real results. And we're just getting started. When we return in the new year, we're going to see a continued focus and push for lower costs and bigger paychecks because that's what the American people need from us. That's what they want from us. Now, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Marionette Miller-Meeks, who is a veteran and a doctor who's actually been the leading voice here in the Republican healthcare solution. Marionette?
Well, I thank Chairwoman McClain, but also Speaker Johnson, Leaders Scalise, Whip Emmer. It's an honor to stand with the House Republican leadership to talk about one of the biggest issues facing American families today, and that's the rising cost of health care. As Chairwoman McClain said, I'm an Army veteran. I was both a nurse and a physician, and I'm the only member of Congress to have served as the state director of a public health department. Not only is this issue important to me, I started my journey as a doctor because I was burned at 15 years old. So it was healthcare and the need for healthcare that drove what I do today. And I spent my career treating patients and fixing broken systems, solving problems, and I can tell you, thanks to the Democrats' failed policy, which they now admit, our healthcare system went from ill to the ICU. For 15 years, the Unaffordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, has done the opposite of what it promised. President Obama promised to lower premiums by $2,500 and to bend the cost curve down. Has that happened? No. Not in the past 15 years, and it won't happen if we just continue to pass subsidies on to profitable health insurance companies. It doesn't even include out-of-pocket cost. It's not sustainable, and it's not working. Republicans want to lower health care costs for everyone, not just a select few, and not just to continue to subsidize profitable insurance companies. Our plan, the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act, is the Republican solution to this crisis. It doesn't throw more taxpayer dollars at insurance companies. It puts patients and doctors in the driver's seat. Our bill lowers premiums by 11% by funding cost-sharing reductions the right way, not just through COVID-era bailouts, that benefited only big insurers. That's up to $1,871 in savings for families each year and over $36 billion in taxpayer savings. We're delivering real PBM reform to stop middlemen from inflating drug prices. Even in my own state, my PBM transparency bill that passed in 2019 when I was a state senator, one of our counties recorded that they saved $80,000 last year through the transparency alone. We want to give small businesses the ability and the power to negotiate better deals. That alone will save taxpayers $2 billion, but most importantly, save small businesses. We're expanding association health plans by allowing small businesses and self-employed workers to team up to expand choices, which result in premiums going down by as much as 30%, even those small businesses that are in the exchanges. As we're strengthening choice arrangements so more small businesses can afford to offer coverage and more workers can choose a plan that fits their lives and their budgets. This is a plan for working Americans, not for profitable insurance companies. It's about lowering cost, increasing access, and restoring sanity to our healthcare system. Most importantly, it is a plan that lowers healthcare costs for everyone and puts patients and their doctors in the driver's seat. Thank you, and I look forward to getting this bill across the finish line and to the American people.
Like our conference chair, I want to start by offering my condolences to the families of the victims of several tragic events over the weekend. The shooting at Brown University that took the lives of 2 promising young students. The vicious ISIS attack on our service members in Syria that claimed 3 American lives. And finally, the horrific anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Australia that killed 15 innocent people at a Hanukkah celebration. Our hearts are heavy as we grieve the evil that was put on display this past weekend, and we continue to pray for the full recovery of those injured and for the comfort of the families whose lives are now forever changed. Now, turning our attention to the House Republican agenda. This year, Republicans delivered one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in our lifetime. The Working Families Tax Cut Act, passed by the House Republicans and signed into law by President Trump, achieved historic America First victories, such as no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors, an increased child tax credit, and Trump savings accounts for newborn children. 2026 is gearing up to be the year of deeper pocketbooks and lower costs for the American people. Thanks to this landmark legislation, tax refunds could increase by $1,000 per taxpayer next year. That's more money in your pocket for you to invest, save, and grow. Waitresses, law enforcement officers, and parents will have more of their hard-earned dollars to put food on the table and to support their families. Not only did our bill deliver the largest tax cut for middle-class Americans, it also addressed rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in programs like Medicaid and SNAP. As we have all witnessed with the fraud scandals coming out of our state of Minnesota, these programs have long been ripe for fraud. But House Republicans and Donald Trump implemented common-sense reforms to strengthen the system to benefit the people who need it the most, not fraudsters who sent millions to terrorists abroad. Which brings me to addressing the failure of my governor, Tim Walz. We anxiously await Tim Walz's response to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jamie Comer regarding what he knew about the $1 billion in fraud. Walz has had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend that he cares about his constituents' tax dollars supporting a terrorist group in Somalia. Accountability is coming, Governor. Our dishonest, failed governor must and will answer for his complete incompetence. With that, I'll turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Webb. My prayers go out to all those killed in so many different horrible tragedies. I mean, here in America, Brown University, you look at our 2 Army soldiers that were killed the anti-Semitic attacks on the other side of the globe. Just remind you, during this Christmas season, this Hanukkah season, it's a special time. It's a time we celebrate, but it's also a time where evil still lurks here and all around the globe. And we just pray for those who have been murdered, harmed, injured. We pray for those who have evil in their hearts, that God can touch them and hopefully remove that evil so that they don't go harm innocent people. This week here in the House, as we finish our work for the year, we're taking up some very important bills. And start with the SPEED Act. We've heard complaints from members all across the country that know that just trying to build things in America, road projects, bridges, pipelines to move energy, anything you're trying to do, more and more laws are getting in the way. NEPA is a heavily abused law that delays a lot of the projects that ought to be built. Bruce Westerman and his committee have done incredible work to bring a bipartisan bill that starts to address the abuses here in NEPA so that we can actually build things in America again. You think about the cost savings that would come if it only takes 2 years instead of 10 years to build a major project. And we all know what's happening all across America, why so many projects are shelved in many cases or take so long to be built because of the abuses of some of these laws, like NEPA, Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act. All of these laws are being heavily abused. So this is a really important first step, getting the SPEED Act passed to get real, meaningful permitting reform. And then, of course, Dr. Miller Meeks talked about her bill, which is such an important step to lower costs in health care for all Americans, 100% of Americans. While Democrats only care about bailing out insurance companies and focusing on less than 10% of Americans that are in the Unaffordable Care Act, we're focused on lowering premiums for all Americans. And that's what you're going to see on the floor this week. You think about association health plans, which have been proven to give people more options to lower costs. The Choice Act, which, while everybody complains, they say, why when I watch TV commercials, I see this gecko lizard and I see the emu and I see all these other animals out there selling health, they're selling car insurance, they're selling homeowners insurance. Why aren't they selling health insurance? Well, that's because the laws at the federal level prohibit the ability for people to have choices to get people trying to offer them lower cost products for health insurance. Imagine if, for example, with Choice Act, where you can run through a health savings account, the ability where if you get your health insurance through your employer, if you're able to go find a better plan, if somebody could compete for your business and offer you a lower deductible plan with lower co-payments for your families, right now you can't go buy that product. Well, we create those options with the bill that we're bringing to the floor tomorrow, the PBM reform that Dr. Miller Meeks talked about, where you can actually have lower prescription drug costs, again, for 100% of Americans. This is something that our 3 committees of jurisdiction have been working on for a long time. And yet, while Democrats only want to bail out insurance companies while premiums go up, we're focused on having lower premium options, lower cost options for 100% of Americans. So another busy week where we're going to be focusing on helping families that are struggling under the weight of all the damage that President Biden did. President Trump is working to lower costs. President Trump wants to see these bills on his desk. And we're going to work to deliver here in the House. And if I don't see you between now and then, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
I rarely get to raise the podium, but I'm going to take the opportunity this morning. Thank you, ladies. Good morning, everybody. Thank you to Dr. Miller Meeks for joining us on what is our last leadership press conference of the year. And I just want to say to all of you, press corps, thanks for being here each week and covering all of this. It's been a hugely historic week and year in so many ways, and a hugely consequential Congress, and you've had a lot to cover. So we do, as everybody has said, wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, and hope you get some well-deserved rest over the short holiday. Since Congress reopened following the end of the Democrat shutdown, the longest in American history, Republicans have passed, since we came back, 41 pieces of legislation, and of course, as you've heard this morning, we're set to pass even more. Chief among them is the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act. It is aptly and appropriately named because that's exactly what it's going to do, as everybody has explained this morning. If you recall, Democrats shut the government down and kept it closed for 43 days so that Chuck Schumer could get political cover from the grassroots of his party. Remember that he had voted for the same CR just several months earlier in March. When the same vehicle came forward, he suddenly changed his tune, and that is because he caught a lot of political backlash for it. So he decided instead to shut the government down and fight. Well, everybody saw how obvious and how dangerous that gambit was. And so the Democrats tried to spin their selfish political decision to claim the whole thing was always about, quote, fighting for health care affordability. That claim never made any sense because it ignores the very simple facts of the situation. It is the Democrats' Unaffordable Care Act that broke America's health care system, as has been recounted this morning. And it's the Democrats who have refused every good faith Republican effort to fix it along the way. This is 15 years into this saga that the American people have been drugged through because the Democrats decided 15 years ago to break the system. They insisted when they passed the Unaffordable Care Act that it would reduce premiums, it would provide more choice and higher quality and all of that. And none of that ever happened. In fact, quite the opposite effect is what we have seen. All this was foreseeable, and that's why Republicans didn't support it. Premiums have skyrocketed, the quality of care has plummeted in so many places and in so many cases around the country, and fraud is absolutely rampant in the system, and it is costing everyone dearly. Yes, there is a health care affordability problem in America. It's a very serious problem for almost every family. But it is an indisputable fact that the Democrats caused that problem, and Republicans are the ones having to clean it up. For 15 long years, Americans have now faced skyrocketing premiums, fewer quality choices, inefficient care, and widespread fraud, waste, and abuse. Benchmark premiums on the Obamacare marketplace for every plan, listen to this, they've increased 80% overall since 2014, and they're continuing to rise. The Unaffordable Care Act marketplace has resulted in lower quality plan offerings and less consumer choices to date. Fraud is absolutely rampant. Paragon Health is one of the analyst groups, and they estimate there's over 6.4 million people who are improperly enrolled in the Obamacare exchanges. And a recent GAO study, the Government Accountability Office, found some staggering facts. It proved what we all know intuitively about the fraud that's involved in this program. They found that Obamacare's subsidy system lacks even the most basic guardrails to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. And I think that study is something that you should all dig into. It should be on the front page of every newspaper because it is shocking and alarming. Over the last 2 years, for example, the investigators at the GAO, Government Accountability Office, they did a little experiment. They in 24 different cases, they applied for Obamacare subsidies. They did it fraudulently by intent. So 24 applications with no Social Security data attached, none of the information that's necessary to actually apply, no citizenship proof attached, and none of the income documents and all the things that they're supposed to be applied and included in an application. Now, guess what? Out of the 24, 23 of them were approved. And they've been paid tens of thousands of dollars, some of them as recently as September of this year, the GAO tracking all of this fraud, wondering, hoping if anybody will ever pay any attention to it and stop it. That's not the only thing they found. The report also found that in 2023, 29,000 Social Security numbers were used by multiple persons. In 2024, 68,000 Social Security numbers used by multiple people to bilk the system, to defraud the system, and to take dollars to themselves. You had, in one case, there was over 120 individuals using the same Social Security number to get these benefits, and it was never stopped. The GAO also found that more than $94 million last year alone was sent to insurers on behalf of people who were already deceased. It's a serious, serious problem in the system. It's why the costs are so high. And this is the system that Democrats in Congress want to extend without any reform. We just can't have that. The Washington Post summarized all this best in one simple sentence. They said, quote, "The real problem is that the Affordable Care Act was never actually affordable." That's the problem. America's healthcare system should be the envy of the world. Instead, it's the most expensive in the world, and the American people are not getting any healthier because of all this madness. A new Gallup poll released yesterday found that 70% of Americans have a negative outlook on our healthcare system for all the obvious reasons. All Americans deserve a healthcare system that puts patients first, one that meets their needs with more access, more choice, and more affordable quality care. And House Republicans have offered legislation to begin fixing what is broken and to restore integrity to our nation's healthcare system. And it's so long overdue. The Lower Healthcare Premiums for All Americans Act, which will be on the floor tomorrow, is the first big step in that regard. As has been noted about Dr. Miller Meeks and the other leaders here, it offers common sense solutions to lower premium cost for everybody, all Americans. It expands access to quality care, provides every American with more options and flexibility to choose coverage that works for them, and it brings greater transparency to America's healthcare system. And here's how. The bill has 5 key reforms. I'll just reiterate some of this real quickly. It reduces premium cost through cost-sharing reduction payments. It brings pharmacy benefit manager transparency and removes the hidden cost of prescription drugs. It allows small business owners and independent workers to form association health plans. It provides more choice for employees to customize their health care plans, and it protects small businesses from costly regulatory overreach. According to the latest CBO projection, Republicans' cost-sharing reduction payments, just that provision alone, would reduce premiums by at least 11% and will save taxpayers tens of billions of dollars, about $30 billion. Contrast this with the Democrats' proposal. Now, what is their proposal? The Democrats' subsidy proposal would only lower premiums for a small subset of people. Now, think of this. Just 7% of Americans would benefit. When they passed the COVID-era enhanced subsidy, enhanced premium tax credit, okay, it would only affect, and only did affect, 7% of the American people. If it was extended today, if their gambit was done and without any reforms, and they expanded it for 3 years, which is what they tried to do in the Senate, and they failed last week, and what they would try to do in the House, if allowed, that would only reduce, for the 7% of Americans, it would only reduce their cost by 5.7%. Okay, this is not some solution to the problem. It's just adding more money. It's further subsidizing a broken system, and the subsidies go to insurance companies. They're not trying to solve the cost problem. They're trying to hide that, and it's not the way to fix it. It would also, by the way, cost taxpayers, if the subsidy was extended, would cost American taxpayers $350 billion over the next 10 years. Again, the proposal doesn't lower health care costs in any way. It only hides the true cost of the failed law. And I'll remind you, CSR payments are not a new idea. In fact, in 2017, the thing that we're going to put on the floor tomorrow, a big part of that, 196 House Democrats, many of them still in Congress, wrote a letter in support of that very idea. Exactly what the Republican bill this week will accomplish. Now, they won't tell you that this week. I'm certain they're all going to vote against it. Why? As was said here many times this morning, they do not want a solution. Democrats do not want a solution. They want an issue in the upcoming election. And they think that the media will go along with this and that people will buy it. That, oh, their heroic effort to extend this COVID-era subsidy that they themselves created and that they themselves put the expiration date on at the end of this year, they're going to try to convince you that that's all health care wrapped into that. Remember, it only affects 7% of Americans, and it would only reduce their cost by less than 6%. Democrats also had a chance to support our provision in the Working Families Tax Cut in the big, beautiful bill. House Democrats voted against it, and the Senate Democrats stripped it out. That cost-sharing reduction reduced everybody's premiums by almost 12%, and the Democrats fought to take it out. This is something that we're going to do this week. The Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act is going to accomplish exactly what the title says. If it becomes law, premiums will decrease, access will increase, and every American will have more options and flexibility to choose the coverage that works best for them. It's called the free market, and we're the ones that advance those ideas. more options, and lower costs. That's what the American people demand and deserve, and it is only the Republican Party that is presenting any ideas to do that. The Democrats want to keep subsidizing a broken system. We're fighting for that, and we will. I'll just close with this. In 2025, as I said, was a marquee year, a landmark year. I want to remind you all there's something noticeably absent from our end-of-year duties here. Normally, or at least in the past before I became Speaker, we would all be here with so much angst and drama and everything about the dreaded end-of-year Christmas omnibus spending package. You have not been able to write about that for now the third year. Because we broke the fever. We both broke the Christmas omnibus fever, and we're getting back to stewardship and regular order, and we're very proud of that. The third consecutive year, we've avoided that terrible congressional Christmas tradition, and we're getting everything working here again. Fixing the appropriations process has been a goal for me and this leadership team. It's been a goal for Chairman Cole at Appropriations and his leadership team, and we're well on the way to rebuilding that muscle memory. House Republicans have shown up every day and delivered real results for the American people, and we're going to continue to do so. We are excited about the years ahead. We look back now on what we've done all this year. We obviously passed the Working Families Tax Cut, the big, beautiful bill, the most significant piece of legislation that Congress has considered in my lifetime. Stephen Miller's had a quote that summarized it pretty well. He said, quote, "Each and every one of the individual titles in that bill will be considered one of the greatest achievements in the history of the conservative movement." They are conservative policies, but they benefit every American, and everyone will be seeing and feeling the effects of that in the first and second quarter of next year when all that becomes implemented. Here's, by way of reminder, real quick, legislation included the largest tax cut in American history, permanent extension of the reduced estate tax, Medicaid program reforms, expansion of SNAP work requirements, increased border enforcement and funding, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, increased standard deduction for seniors, tax-free savings accounts for every child born in America, business tax provisions to incentivize investment and innovation and broaden the pathway out of poverty for more people. Wages will be increasing and costs will be going down. Many of these landmark provisions are set for implementation in the first, second quarter, as I said, and all boats will begin to rise. Just last week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicted $100 to $150 billion in new tax refunds, between $1,000 and $2,000 per household. And most of the estimates say that the average American household will have their take-home pay increase by at least $10,000. These are real, tangible benefits that this bill is going to offer to tens of millions of American families, and we're excited about what's ahead. It's just one more example of the many positive and transformational outcomes that we're going to see going into the next year. So far, House Republicans have passed 413 bills this year. We've codified 68 of President Trump's America First executive orders. We've repealed 23 Biden-era maddening regulations under the Congressional Review Act resolutions. We clawed back billions in wasteful spending through rescissions and opened numerous investigations into President Biden's failed administration. And we look forward to continuing all of that work when we return in 2026 and we go into an epic midterm election cycle. With that, I'll take a few questions. I'm going to go to Bill Malugin. What you doing on the front row, man? I'm glad to see you.
Ahead of Jack Smith's deposition tomorrow, out this morning, DOJ is getting hand over a batch of emails. And in those emails, FBI warned the Biden DOJ that there wasn't probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. Are you aware of this? Are you expecting to get these emails later today? What's your response?
I've heard as much as you just reported there, and I have not had an opportunity to review any of that yet. But it would verify and I think affirm much of what we understood from the very beginning. As y'all know, I used to serve on the House Judiciary Committee before I was made Speaker in October of 23. And we spent a lot of time uncovering just the complete and total weaponization of the Department of Justice under the Biden administration. They used it to go after political enemies, and chief among them was, of course, Donald J. Trump. And they abused the system, and to me, the great harm of it all was that they really eroded the people's faith in our system of justice itself. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing. If people don't believe that our justice system is actually equal justice under the law, that Lady Justice is actually still wearing the blindfold, that everybody gets the same treatment under the law, it's a really serious challenge for a constitutional republic. And so this is some shocking revelations to a lot of people. It's not to us. We knew, we understood that this was happening the whole time. The evidence, I think, and I expect will verify all of that. And there's going to have to be appropriate accountability. I mean, accountability is key here. It's important. Because if you're going to restore the people's faith in the justice system, you have to show them that there are serious consequences for people like Jack Smith, who abuses that system. We have to ensure it doesn't happen again, and we'll see how all that unfolds, but it's going to be a very, very interesting, important development. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. This morning, Congressman Mike Lawler said that it was political malpractice to not allow a vote on the ACA subsidy extension this week. What's your reaction to that, and will Republicans suffer any political blowback for not allowing something like that to come to the floor with moderates?
Well, Mike Lawler is a very dear friend and close colleague of mine. And ironically, weekend before last, I was in New York, in his district on Long Island, and we were campaigning together, ensuring that he gets reelected. Mike Lawler fights hard for New York, as every Republican in this conference does for their districts. The districts are different. They have different priorities and ideas, but we do have, there's about a dozen members in the conference that are in these swing districts who are fighting hard to make sure that they reduce costs for all of their constituents. And many of them did want to vote on this Obamacare, COVID-era subsidy the Democrats created. We looked for a way to try to allow for that pressure release valve, and it just was not to be. We worked on it all the way through the weekend, in fact, and in the end, there was not an agreement wasn't made. Now, everybody was at the table in good faith. And I certainly appreciate the views and the opinions of every member of this conference. But I will tell you one thing they will all join in unity on is voting for this bill that we've been discussing this morning. Because, again, instead of just trying to assist 7% of Americans, this is for 100% of Americans. And we can handle that and do that together. I hope that Democrats will come along with us. If they're serious about solving the problem and bringing down cost of health care, they'll all fully support it as well. But I think you're going to see they're playing politics with this.
Speaker Johnson. Last week, President Trump said that his legislative agenda is essentially done. So why should voters vote for Republicans in the midterms if there's nothing left to do legislatively?
Well, I don't know which comment you're referring to and in what context, but I'll tell you, I talked to the president sometimes multiple times each day. He and I and his team and our teams work around the clock. Literally, the president and I will talk sometimes at midnight and then again at 6 a.m. I mean, this president doesn't sleep. He's working all the time. The agenda is aggressive. There is much more to do. I think what he's sometimes when I think he's taken out of context on comments like that, he's referring to what we accomplished with the Working Families Tax Cut, the big beautiful bill, because there's so much in that a lot of people said, wow, you guys checked all the boxes. Well, we did to a certain extent, but there is so much more to do. And we're going to have a very aggressive legislative agenda coming right out of the gates in January. We're going to continue to work, for example, on health care, to continue to bring costs down for the American people, to bring down the cost of living overall. You're going to see an aggressive affordability agenda, and we're going to see continued codification of the president's executive orders. He's up to about 200 of those. Probably about 150 of them are codifiable by Congress, and we're working steadily through that list. You're going to see us delivering for the American people while the effects of that giant piece of legislation that we did on July 4th, got signed on July 4th, comes into implementation. So much more yet to do. And the president and I talk about that almost every day, and he's excited about it, and I am. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, so there's a lot of Republicans who would still like to see health savings accounts set up as an alternative to the premium tax credit. I'm curious, why is that not in this bill? Is that something that's still on the table?
Very much on the table. The president likes the policy as well. I see my doctor colleagues, Dr. Miller Meeks is nodding in agreement. The Docs Caucus the Doctors Caucus in the Republican Conference works on these things, and I think we could get broad consensus on that. What we anticipate going into the first quarter next year is possibly in a reconciliation package or in regular order as standalone. Ideas just like this. We have a long list of things that we know will reduce premiums, increase access and quality of care. And again, we're the only party that's going to be bringing that forward. The Democrats have zero ideas, zero concepts, and zero legislative plans on anything they'll propose other than just subsidizing the broken system. So there's going to be a stark contrast between the two parties. That'll be a big part of it, and I think you'll see a lot of that discussion going forward. Yes, ma'am. Last one.
Just to follow up on that, we are at the end of the year here. People have already enrolled in their health care plans. You guys were out for 2 months during the shutdown. Why has it taken until the end of the year to start addressing, putting to the floor these health care bills? And what is your message to those who are going to see their premiums rise next year anyway, because it seems unlikely that Congress is not going to be able to get something together by then?
Well, the health care bill on the floor tomorrow is right on time. There's always a good time to reduce premiums for health care. And remember, the Republican Party, since the Unaffordable Care Act became law 15 years ago, we have been working steadily, producing ideas, trying to address this. We tried to repeal and replace it, as you all know, in our ultimately failed attempt back in the first Trump administration, at the end of 2017. The famous John McCain thumbs down tanked the effort. And since then, the roots of Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, have gotten so deep in the system that it's no longer possible to just pull it out at the root and chop it off and start over. It's too deeply ingrained. And so now we have to take it step by step to reduce cost and repair the system. And that's the ideas that we have. You're talking about the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The Democrats did that. Remember, when we reopened the government, we ended in the exact same place that we began. They didn't get a darn thing out of it, and we knew that they wouldn't, and that's how it would come out, and they did it for political purposes. When they took us off the field effectively for 43 days, as soon as we got back, let's remember, because history's being revised here every day, we got right back to the appropriations process, remember, which was so critically important, and all the other measures that we were pushing through. We got done on that steadily through the year, and then we turned the attention to health care, knowing it was coming at the end of the year on the subsidy and that new ideas would be presented. We didn't start this in October, November, or December. This is something the Republican Party's been working on for years. I've mentioned in here before, when I was chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus of Republicans in Congress, we had 158 members back in 2019, and we produced a 2-volume set on conservative common sense solutions to fix health care. We've never been able to get the votes to fix it because the Democrats have been unwilling to go along. And you can go back and look at the record and show over and over, all they want to do is continue to throw taxpayer dollars and subsidize the broken system. The reason the premiums are up 80% since the bill was passed by the Democrats in 15 years ago is because they're further ingraining a broken system. So it's up to us to fix it. This is one piece, one part of that. And in the first quarter, January, February next year, you're going to see much more activity of this. The American people's attention is on health care for the obvious reason. It is a very serious problem. But remember this, the Democrats broke it, Republicans are going to fix it. I wish you all a blessed holiday. Thanks so much.
All right, so we were just listening in there on Capitol Hill to the House GOP weekly press conference speaking on the topic of health care. Now, it's a very busy day there on Capitol Hill if you are just tuning in, because we do have a number of live events that are happening there. We're also right now understanding that Secretary Hegseth as well as Secretary Rubio are having this Senate briefing. And it does look like at this media stakeout camera, we are hearing from lawmakers as they were discussing the boat strikes. Let's listen in.
Vessel, because we're more worried about the lives of drug dealers than we are our own people. And that's a high-risk mission.
They've been doing that.
Oh, you're a professional at this? So she knows how the Coast Guard interdicts vessels. This is great. The reality is interdicting a vessel is high risk, any which way you cut it. Whether you send the Coast Guard and FBI, or whether you send the Navy SEALs to do it. It's a high-risk mission. And I'll add, when we find, fish, and finish terrorist targets, this is a designated terrorist organization. The deadliest day in the history of the SEALs was in Ward Act Promise 2011. We sent in SEALs on a helicopter because the kinetic strike intelligence said, we're going to send a team in instead. Instead of bombing the building and killing the terrorists, we're going to send a team in. And by sending a team in, that helicopter was shot down on short final, deadliest day in the history of special operations, because our team made the decision, the right decision at the time, that we were going to send a team in and conduct the capture kill instead of a kinetic strike. So making the decision to not strike and instead send Americans in, that's a decision the commander can make. That's within his authority to do so. But we have to recognize that carries risks too. And we've been doing this for 25 years. And if we're going to question the legal process and the procedural process to target bad guys that this administration is using, then all of you better start cracking open every single Obama kinetic strike that happened over 8 years of Obama, because he was active. I deployed under all 5 of my deployments were under Barack Obama. then you're going to have to crack open every single bomb that Obama dropped because it was the exact same process. In many cases, the same people. So it's about time we forget the political games. Americans do not want drugs coming to the country. We absolutely talked about Venezuela because Venezuela is not just a drug cartel government. It's a transnational sponsor of crime. It's a transnational cooperator with Iran, with Russia, with China, and uses its ability to flood our nation with drugs to weaken our country and harm our people. So this is a legal process. The legal process supports what they're doing, and we're going to keep doing it until they're gone.
Senator, is the goal regime change? Did they tell you that?
And once again, we've been bringing you these comments here from lawmakers as they have been speaking throughout the morning. And this right there is one of our other cameras. It looks like we are now actually seeing Senator Schumer speaking on this. Let's head back.
Senators, that he allow every senator to see the unedited version, the unedited video of what happened on September 2nd. He refused. The administration came to this briefing empty-handed. That's the major question that we face. And if they can't be transparent on this, how can you trust their transparency on all the other issues swirling about in the Caribbean? Every senator is entitled to see it. If there is no problem with sources and methods, because the senators will see it in the skiff. I also believe that every American should see an appropriate version of this, of the unedited, they should see an appropriate version of what happened on September the 2nd. I saw it. It was deeply troubling. In my Gang of 8 meeting last week, I asked Secretary Hegseth, let every senator see it. He said he'd think about it. Today, he came up with no answer and no take.
So do you have
His reasoning was that it might give things away that shouldn't be. I respect classification. When you do it in the skiff, that argument is undercut. It's just with senators in the skiff.
Can you help us understand if they gave any rationale what the end goal of these strikes actually is? I imagine.
Look, that's the sad, and I sat through this briefing once before last week. We do not, their policies in the Caribbean are unclear. We don't know what the limits are. We don't know where they'll stop. We don't know what the ultimate goal is. The president says different things at different times and contradicts himself. That's why we need full transparency, at least to the 100 senators, and much more transparency to the American people. We don't want another endless war. We don't want to stumble into something, and given Trump's erratic back and forth on this issue, I worry about that. So do many Americans.
All right, once again, several stakeout cameras here on Capitol Hill today, as we do know that there were Senate briefings from Secretary Hegseth as well as Secretary Rubio on those boat strikes. Now, we just heard from Senator Chuck Schumer as well as several others. We'll continue to monitor these live looks here on Live Now from Fox. My name is Christy Mattino. We're going to head away to our final break of the hour. On the other side of that, my colleague Stephanie Quinn will be taking over. We'll be right back.
'Tis the season to save at Best Buy. Don't miss out.
Step inside Stingray Cozy Cafe, where inviting coffee house scenes meet down-tempo lo-fi beats. Tune in to Stingray Cozy Cafe and savor the vibes.
Welcome to Stingray Cityscapes, a channel that takes you around the globe to the sound of relaxing down-tempo music. Visit the world's most iconic urban destinations from a soaring bird's-eye view. Tune in to Stingray Cityscapes, where every skyline tells a story.
Good to see you. Sorry it has to be under these circumstances.
I've been told you've had a murder. You want to tell me about it?
It's a crime. I am trying to solve it.
Well, are you ready?
Call me Mr. Tips. Read these guys and write some book.
That was the most fun I had in ages.
There's a killer amongst us.
It's so stressful.
I got a stadium filled with the greatest players of all time. Serena Williams, Aaron Judge, Neymar, Steph Curry, even David Letterman. David Letterman!
And welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We just heard from House GOP leadership. Now we're hearing from House Democrats as they are now holding a press conference. On the other side of this is my colleague Stephanie Quinue. Thanks for watching Live Now from Fox.
Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Hardworking families have been pleading for Republicans to do just that and to keep his promise. But instead of offering real solutions and working with us to achieve lower costs, congressional Republicans are putting on a show this week. Their bill, which may not even have the support of their entire conference, will not extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits and will not lower costs that families face. Even if it were to pass, it won't become law. This isn't a serious effort to address rising costs of health care that millions of Americans will face. Now, $1,000 more in new costs thanks to Republicans. Meanwhile, Democrats on both sides of the Capitol have a solution we are on board with to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits and ensure that Americans' premiums don't double, triple, or even quadruple. We only need 4 Republicans to join us. Time is still marching on while Republicans sit on their hands. The American people will pay the price for the inaction, and Republicans will no doubt pay a price at the ballot box next year. Next, I'll yield to Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. My heart goes out to the victims and the families and all those affected at the mass shooting at Brown University. I hope law enforcement catches the murderer soon and that that person is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I also request the FBI director to stop putting out false information. It's not the first time he's done it. He wrongly identified a potential suspect in this case. There's literally no reason for the FBI director to have to be the first one to tweet something, to put out these things before verifying the facts. And when he does that, it ends up potentially ruining lives, putting the public at risk, and it's not something that FBI director needs to do. I ask him to just stop doing that. I also want to say that my prayers are with the Jewish community, both in the United States and across the world. The heinous attack in Australia was completely devastating. No one should ever be targeted because of their religious beliefs, especially when they're practicing those religious beliefs. And anti-Semitism, both in the U.S. and around the world, has continued to grow. And we need to do more to stamp this form of discrimination out, one of the oldest in humankind. And it is a scourge upon humanity, and we need to all work together to eradicate it. Now I'd like to talk about jobs, which we've now reached the highest unemployment in since 2021, 4.6%. The American people know that the policies of Trump and Republicans are crushing people economically. We know costs also continue to rise, grocery costs, electricity costs, as well as healthcare costs. And Republicans have had an entire year to fix the healthcare system. They knew that the ACA subsidies were expiring, and they've done nothing about it. And this week, they still don't have a plan to restore the subsidies for the ACA. Democrats have a discharge petition. 214 members have signed it. We just need 4 Republicans to sign this discharge petition, and we can stop these premium rates from increasing for people on the ACA. And, I have a great honor now to introduce our tremendous field general and head of the DCCC, Susan Del Bene, from the great state of Washington.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks to Chairman Aguilar and our Vice Chair, Ted Lieu, for inviting me today. Today we had caucus down the street, and we gave an update on our efforts to retake the majority and hold Republicans accountable for their disastrous agenda. Americans across the country are rejecting Republicans in election after election this year. They have made clear that they are souring on House Republicans' broken promises, and it's just been a series of broken promises. The American people want leaders who are going to stand up for them, address the issues that are making their lives more unaffordable, not just policies that are supporting the wealthiest few. And despite what their constituents are telling them about how they are struggling, Republicans don't seem to care. They're avoiding people back home. They're not meeting with their constituents because they're scared, and they don't want to hear the truth about how their policies are hurting working families. Well, no matter how hard they try to avoid hearing about it, there's no denying the facts that we've seen on the ground. Americans are literally paying a higher price for the GOP's failed agenda. Working families are being squeezed by rising grocery costs from tariffs. We're seeing monthly utility bills jump higher. Healthcare costs are going up, and premiums are poised to skyrocket for millions of people next year. The so-called health package that they're putting on the floor this week will do nothing to address the Republican healthcare crisis that they've created. Premiums will go up, millions will be priced out of their coverage, and those who can still afford it will get less while paying more. Republicans are ignoring the pain we're seeing across the country for everyday Americans, and make no mistake, it is going to cost them the majority. House Republicans and Donald Trump know they can't win on the issues, so they've turned to rigging the midterms instead in their desperate attempt to stay in power. But this cynical gambit by them isn't working either, and the American people hate what Republicans are trying to do. From California to Missouri, just last week in Indiana, people are fighting back against the Republican scheme to rig the midterm elections. And on issue after issue, we are seeing the American people sour on Republicans, rejecting their price hike policies and showing that they are ready for change, for people who will stand up for them. House Democrats are fighting every day to win back the majority across the country. It's why we expanded our map of offensive opportunities last week. We are absolutely on the offense, and we expect to continue to look at opportunities to win races across the country. So simply put, we have incredible candidates. We are with the American people, have a strong message. Public sentiment is on our side, and next year we will take back the majority of the House. Thank you. Turn it back to the chair.
Questions? Nick?
If you guys don't get a deal on healthcare by the time open enrollment closes, do you think the open enrollment deadline should be extended? Is there a narrower compromise to be found there?
Well, these are all items that we can legislate, right? We can write into legislation that we are going to reopen enrollment. That's what we would seek to accomplish with any legislative vehicle done at this point. We want to provide relief to the rising costs that these premium increases will mean to the American people. Many people haven't signed up for their health care because of those skyrocketing costs. So we want to give them an opportunity to join again. We want to make it clear for them that these costs shouldn't go up. We want to make it clear for them that $1,000 increases, are not what we should be doing. And so that's our focus and our goal, and we're prepared to meet with Republicans, talk with them in good faith if this is genuinely what they want to accomplish. Mike?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that the bill that the Republicans plan to put on the floor this week will not make it into law even if it passes the House. Some of your Republican colleagues say the same thing about the Jeffries discharge petition, that even if you got 4 Republicans, it did not get, the 3-year extension didn't get 60 votes in the Senate last week. What's your response to that criticism? And then I have a question for Chair Delbonnay, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll let each of my colleagues also answer this one, because I think I think it's yet to be seen whether this can become law or not. You mentioned it didn't have 60 votes in the Senate, but it had a handful of Republicans, right? So let's talk with those Republicans. Let's talk with others. We only need a handful more over in the Senate for the 3 years to become law. So let's find 4 willing to engage and sign this discharge petition, and then work on what we need to do to get a handful others in the Senate to come on board. But this is the closest path that we have in front of us. Other discharge petitions, 40, 50 signatures, that's fine. But This one we need 4. So let's see what we have here. If Republicans, are serious about this, then they can sign our discharge petition and work with us in good faith. That seems like a reasonable place to land, given that their own leadership won't give them the time of day. We're happy to meet with them and talk with them about how we avoid increases to premiums that people have across the country. Vice Chair.
And, Chair, you mentioned that you all expanded the map last week. I'm curious if the pending Supreme Court Section 2 decision on the voting rights case, have you made any contingencies for if the Supreme Court does end up overturning Section 2? How does that impact the map, given that you made those, offensive expansions last week?
We're going to continue to stay updated on what happens with maps. Clearly, there are ongoing efforts. Republicans are looking at places like Florida, for example. So we're going to continue to update our map based on any changes that take place. And we will see what the Supreme Court decides. We'll still awaiting that decision, and how soon that will be or how late that will be will help us understand what impact it might have. But we understand we could hear any time on that, and we will wait to hear what the Supreme Court has to say.
Thank you.
You mentioned the other discharge petitions, which you don't seem to be in favor of, but those are closer to what the Republicans in the Senate have been talking about in their meetings yesterday and even while they were voting. Is there any chance that those move forward at all? Could Democrats get behind that to try and put the ball in the Senate's court?
I don't speak Senate. I don't know what the Senate's working on. I've said that before, but what I said was, and I want to be very clear, House Democrats will engage with Republicans if they meet with us in good faith, if it extends the premium tax credits and saves money for the American people. That is our focus. The focus of the Affordable Care Act was to make sure that people weren't uninsured. At the time, we had 46 million people uninsured. We've got 20 million people uninsured now. The Affordable Care Act did that. Speaker Johnson might want to rewrite, history, but the Affordable Care Act did that. These premium tax credits did that. Expansion of Medicaid did that. Democrats' number one focus is ensuring that people are healthy and safe for them and their families. We want to avoid these increases that the American people are facing at the hands of Republican inaction. And we're willing to meet with Republicans and our colleagues. We continue to be open and have conversations with our colleagues about what the path forward is. What we're saying is this is the fastest and soonest path. 4 signatures, let's push it on the floor. Speaker Johnson, just like he did with the Epstein petition, could choose to put this on the floor once it has 218 signatures. He could do this. He is choosing not to. But that inaction is exactly what the American people see is wrong with Washington, D.C., and wrong with Republicans.
Thank you. So Republicans have a provision on their health bill around cost-sharing reductions that includes language around how states whose health plans cover abortion will be excluded from this type of funding. 13 states currently require insurance, including the ACA, to cover abortion. California, Washington are 2 of those. Can y'all respond to how Republicans' bill could potentially make it so that 13 states don't have that type of funding, which is used to lower premiums?
Yeah, this just continues to be, and all of these, policies this is like the greatest hits of Republican healthcare solutions from like 2007, right? These are all old recycled policies that never became law. The provision that you're talking about specifically, and Chair Del Bene can talk to this from the Ways and Means perspective, is meant to be punitive to blue states who believe that women should have healthcare coverage and that those decisions should be between a woman and her doctor on what that coverage looks like. That is our core belief, and that is our focus. Republicans seem hell-bent on wanting to continue to assault that provision and ensure that politicians make choices about women's health care rather than doctors and women. And so that's unfortunate. But it isn't surprising. And like I said, these are all recycled provisions that haven't become law, that have been pushed back against, and even by Republicans in the past. And so this is a collection of pieces that Speaker Johnson feels will unite his party and his caucus in his conference. And we'll see if that's the case. They turn their back on moderates engaging in proposals that would provide, health care and lower these premium tax, lowering these premiums that people pay. We'll see what else. But generally, Republicans just take it. They'll just continue to vote, yes, because Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson tell them to.
No, I mean, I agree. I think that we've seen attacks from this administration on healthcare across the board, on doctors' ability to help do what they think is best for patients to make decisions. So not surprising that Republicans continue down this path. But, we're going to stand up for healthcare for folks all across the country. They have created a healthcare crisis and raising costs for everyone. And the American people are seeing that, and they're going to continue to stand up and reject the policies Republicans are putting in place, because it's affordability, but it's also making sure that they can make their own health care decisions with their doctor.
As it stands, Democrat leadership is not backing either of the bipartisan discharge petitions. And with that, are you prepared for possibly a fully Republican bill or no solution to happen at the end of the year?
We'll see. Republicans have made that choice that they don't want to extend the premium tax credits. They made that choice in the Big Ugly Law. They made that choice during the shutdown. They made that choice each and every legislative day that we've had. They have known that these tax credits expire at the end of the year, and the tax credits that they chose to extend were all for billionaires and corporations. They chose to leave the American public out in the cold. And so they have made this choice. What we are prepared to do is to help, is to dig in and to offer our votes on a reasonable solution. And if Republicans want to meet with us to talk about what that solution looks like, this is the fastest and easiest path that has bipartisan support in the Senate. And could become law. And so that is our plan and our focus, but we're going to continue to engage our members along the way because our core belief is providing health care to people, and that continues to be the focus.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Two of the Republicans who theoretically could be the folks that would sign on to your all's discharge petition, Representative Kiley and Representative Bacon in the last 12 hours have told me, look, we don't believe that Democrats actually want a solution. They think that Democrats just want to run in 2026 on the health care issue. What's your response to that?
Completely false. I mean, that could be what they tell themselves to put themselves to sleep at night. But that's not reality. Look, our core focus and our goal, we've been the ones who have been talking about this. During the government shutdown, when we're all here, we have been the party, we have been the people who have been saying the American people are getting left behind. You help billionaires and wealthy corporations at the expense of people, and that needs to change. We have to fix that. This deadline is coming on 12/30.